Morning, guys. I got my coffee. Yep. The light ain't very well right now, but I want to talk to y'all guys about that episode yesterday. I usually won't get in stuff like that unless it's a 3-day weekend and we're out there camping, then I'll give it hell like that, but because it requires so much work afterwards, but it's all good. There's a few things I wanted to mention to y'all about that. You know, you really don't want to do that with your Jeep if you drive it every day. That's all this thing's for. That's it. It can sit there for 2 weeks till I get it all back straight the way I want it. And there's things that I've done to that Jeep to help it in situations like that, because in Florida, that's all we got, you know, is that stuff. Like, a lot of you guys have said, you know, you don't have enough down travel. You know, your shocks look like they're don't have enough down travel, and it don't, for a reason. The reason I've never made it where I want more up than down in the mud, because if you ramming back and forth into them logs like I was, and you got enough down travel for that control arm to get it a more than a 45-degree angle and down like this, and you hit that log with it hard, I've seen it. Matter of fact, the old lady's Jeep, she's got longer shocks on it. It'll peel that control arm back, break the shock, and roll your front end under, fold it under, as I call it. And also when you're winching in those spots like that, because you can't see what's under there, so when you're winching, it can fold the front end up under it. That's why I don't have as much down travel. I want to keep my control arm, I got about 4 or 5 inches down. I mean, it's not terrible or nothing, it's not bottomed out, but I don't want my control arms to get like this in my situation, because if I do and I'm winching and it starts pulling down on the control arm, instead of the winch pulling the Jeep forward, it's pulling down on that front end on that shock. And if you can't get the tire to climb over what you're pulling, it'll literally fold your front end under. That's one thing I've done, is left my down travel at a minimum. You know, it's decent. It's about 5 inches down, maybe 5 inches. I ain't never measured it, but it flexes good. I rely more on the rear end. That's why I move my shock brackets up to give this more shock, and I put that helper spring in there to give it more articulation in the rear, because I got more shackle play. You know, my shackles are at a better angle. But that's one thing I did for it to survive all that beating back and forth like that, wide ass open. And as far as the engine goes, you know, to me the engine's disposable. I mean, I hate to sound like I got that kind of money, but it's not really that. I can fix it. If it was a hanger rod outside of it, I'd put that 5.3 in there, so I'm not really worried about it. And it's got a rev limiter on it. That thing will live it. It'll live it. I think that rev limiter goes up to about 4,800 RPMs. It'll live at that. You know, you don't want to sit there with it on the floor, but if you've ever tried to blow an engine up like that, over revving it, it ain't easy to do. It'll catch on fire before it blows up. If you just put a brick on the floorboard and let that thing scream into the rev limiter, it would literally catch on fire before it blew up. So the rod ratio in them engines are pretty good if it's a 4.0 and it ain't a stroker motor. Now you take a stroker motor and you turn it like that, and it's liable to come apart on you. You know, I got a couple other buddies with 4.0s with carburetors on them. You won't believe the RPMs on them things that turn. There's a guy that rides with us that's got a blue TJ. Y'all ain't seen him in the video yet, but y'all see him this year, and he will spin his up big time. He's got Q78s on his, which is a 35.5 Super Swamper, and a stick shift. He's putting a stroker motor in it right now, a 5-liter stroker motor. So we'll see how that goes. It seems like to me the pistons are going to be too heavy in it, and it's going to, we don't know. We'll see. But as far as the engine goes, you know, that rev limiter is going to keep you safe. But that deep water like that, I mean, that wasn't real deep. It was deep enough to fill my doors up. Let's walk around and look at it. Maybe the light won't be too bad. I don't know if you guys, but that's how close I live to the forest. You see all the water still standing there where it dripped out of the doors. But your doors, I don't know if any of y'all know this, but I can't see. You see them holes? See how that's got mud in it? Mud in it. There's holes right there. When you get back, you gotta clean them out, let the water out of your doors, or they'll rust out on you. I need to wash these out because this one's getting pretty heavy with mud in it. Let's poke one of them holes right now and see if there's anything left in there. Yeah, I gotta clean this out. Yeah, that's a mess in there. Yeah, it's all drained out, but the reason I got the locking hubs is because of the wheel bearings. I can pack them with grease, and I ain't got to worry about that component bearing being messed up, and there ain't nothing you can do with it. You know, you can't pack it. And of course, I've got the snorkel for that, for the water, and all my electrical connections, my plug wires, I put good plugs in it, and I put a dab of clear silicone inside the plug wire when it's brand new, and just smush them on there, on the coil, on all the plugs. The distributor cap, where it sits down on the distributor, I got a ring of clear silicone around that, and all the wires on it are done that way, so the water can't get in there. And on the computer, you unsnap all these and you put dielectric grease in there. If you look at the parts store, it's called dielectric grease. It's a non-conductive silicone that's real thick. You put that inside the plug and smash it in there, and it fills that up with silicone, and that won't get no water in it. And of course, your vent tubes and all that stuff on the transmission. Now I've checked. Hopefully the light's not messing me up. I can't see my phone. Check all your fluids. That's good. Let's set you down right here and we'll check your tranny fluid. I haven't really checked it out yet. I got Damien out. Was here at the house last night till late, fixing his he'd bent his drag link. That's good. She did good though yesterday. Engine oil's clean. No water in it. I checked the rear diff already. I did that first thing when I got home last night because it was underwater for 15 minutes. It's good. I haven't checked the front end yet. And that was the other reason I got them end seals there. The seals that go on inside the axle on this end, that way it's double sealed. Now the U-joints and stuff, U-joints are sealed damn good. Those seals that they use on them things, it's almost impenetrable. I mean, you ain't got to worry about getting it in there. It will eventually, but if you get water in the U-joint, it's because it was wore out anyway. But another thing that I do with this, that I've done with this Jeep to keep it surviving and stuff like that, is the exhaust. See how my exhaust? It's just a straight shot back and then a turn down, right? It doesn't go up over the axle it doesn't make a bend in it up where it could trap water on this end of it. It's constantly blowing out right there. So if I was to shut down with it, it'd fill this up right here all the way up to that bend, but when I got it started, it'd blow it right back out. It'd be easy for it because it doesn't have that bend going over the axle to the back that gives it like a, you know, a trap there, like a trap in a sink. You know, it's the same thing but upside down. It'll trap water back in here and cause you issues, make it want to shut off. And that shifter did damn good. Y'all see how quick I was changing directions. It will stay in first gear. That helped out big time. But now we got to clean. I'm gonna clean it up and grease everything. That's the first thing you want to do after you get it washed, is grease all these. You can grease it when you get back too, and it'll push all that water out of there. I've showed that in videos before too. And make sure your vent tubes are all hooked up. Oh, there's my noise. That's that noise. It ain't the alternator. There's a stick up in there. That's the noise, guys. Let's get that. I'll get that out of there, but there's a stick rammed up in the dam. Up underneath the dust cover there. Huh. That's what the noise is, so it ain't my alternator. It was still charging. It was making a noise on the way home, a little zzz noise. It was I thought it was an alternator, but it wasn't. That's a brand new alternator. Let's check the, oh, did y'all notice how I did this? I was gonna tell y'all in the video how I turned that way. When I was checking it out before we went last time, when it turned this way, the tire was throwing mud up there and it was sucking it in at wide open throttle. Because it pulls a lot of air in through there. When you put your hand over it with it running, and when you stomp it and floor it, it's putting a lot of air in through there. It was sucking mud in there. I had to clean all this out the other day before we went. But these things can take some abuse. But you can't not do what I was doing in that video if you drive your Jeep to work, to school, to the store, to get groceries. None of that shit. This Jeep is a trail Jeep, and it is a hardcore mud and chip trail Jeep. I like that stuff. I know it don't make no damn sense to want to do your Jeep like that, but when I mud raced for many years, and you have to use it. You have to consider the Jeep like a toy. It's a toy. You go out there and beat on it. You bring it home and you work on it for a week. And there ain't nothing broke on it or anything like that, but you still got to clean all the shit out of it and make sure your wheel bearings haven't got any water protruding into them. Your diffs, definitely, you got to check your diffs. Now, I was going to show you all this. I had a comment about, you know, I forget y'all's names. I try to answer every question that I get on YouTube, and sometimes they're short because I get a lot of them, man. We're getting up there in subscribers, and we're getting up there in videos. So I got people. I spend a half of my day every day commenting, you know, returning comments and answering questions on YouTube. But luckily, I'm in my van and I can do it. But anyway, one guy was concerned about the pinion, you know, the front pinion backing up and going forward like that. And see, he knows something that I had to figure out the hard way. When that Dana 30, that high pinion, a high pinion 30, a high pinion 44, any high pinion, your pinion gear is so high up in the axle that your oil level is not lubricating it in reverse when you're backing up like that, because when you're going, these are reverse rotation. So when you're traveling forward, it's high speed, it's slinging oil up into that pinion, right? When you're backing up, it's going down, it's slinging it into the cover. So when you're going in reverse, you don't have any oil on your pinion. And when you go back forward, it will. And then when you back up, it don't, okay? And it will burn the bearings up because of that, especially if you're beating on it like I was. But these high fill covers correct that. That oil level's up to here in this thing. It's up to that high. Same thing with the rear end. The rear end is the same way. Backing up, going forward, wide open throttle in reverse on anything is bad. But both these covers are high fill on the front and the back, so the pinion is covered in oil on both diffs. And that right there will save your ring gear and your pinion, because you know, like I've told y'all, once you wear them pinion bearings out and you get any play in them, it's going to eat the ring gear up. Now, that is something else that I had to do for it to live through stuff like that. But I can tell you what, we was in that mud hole. If y'all watched that video, it was 15 minutes. 15 minutes long, we were in that deep ass water. The front end was underwater, the rear end was underwater. If it got any in the rear end, it was very little, because my vent tube needs to be put higher on it, and I will do that. But I checked it yesterday though, it's still brown, it's not white. I haven't checked the front yet, but I know there ain't none getting the front, because it's got to go through 2 seals on each side to get in there. And I just greased it before I left. And that's another thing you want to do. Grease it before you leave. Especially if you think you're going to be in some shit like that, which you don't really never know what you're going to be into. I didn't think that shit was that deep. And you get off in something, and then you have no choice but to beat on it to get the hell out of it. You know, I mean, you can't just stop and say, well, let me hook the winch up. There wasn't nowhere to hook it. You had to try to get out of there. But I beat on it like that a lot since I've had this Jeep. But usually it's on a 3-day weekend where I'm gonna be out there camping and I ain't got to worry about working on it for a few days, and it holds up. The only thing I go through is starters and alternators, and because they're down in the water. And I thought about relocating that alternator, but I don't want to lose my AC, and I don't want to move my AC down because I'd rather buy an alternator and a clutch. You can get them to warranty it a couple times. I know that sounds shitty, but I got buddies that watch the channel that work at some places that I get parts from, and they help me out. Or we can go out there and make videos. But she did good, man. Front end's still tight, pinion's still tight. Everything's still good. That was one hole out of 50 usually on a weekend trip. If you guys ever come down, you guys that live close, and we go out for a trail ride on the weekend, like a 3-day weekend when we have a camp trip, we're gonna do it. And y'all come out with us. Be prepared, you know. If y'all you don't have to follow me, you know. You can go back camp or wait on the other side of the trail. We get like that all the time. That's really a smart thing to do. But mainly I want to tell y'all, you know, don't take your Jeep and shit like that if you got to drive it every day. If it's a toy and that's all you do with it, fine. You know, and you got the umph to get out there and work on it, because it's going to require me next week after work and tinkering with it to get it cleaned up and check it all out. But I think it's good. I just found the noise it was making. It's that damn stick rammed up in there. That's why we couldn't go down that canal, though. There was a log across it. But y'all always remember that about your control arms. See the angle of my control arm? Once you let that sumbitch drop down until that coil spring unloads, that bar is going to be like this. Then you got more leverage on the shock and everything trying to pull it back. That's why I've never put all that down travel in this, because for one reason, I don't need it. I mean, it makes it, on my Jeep, I want it to go up over logs. Now, you see me going over them logs in that trail. If it was bumping out 3 inches up and had 6 inches of down travel, or 8 inches of down travel, or whatever, it would want to lift up on the Jeep instead of go over the log. It just works better for me. Every case is different. I don't have rocks to climb over. The long arm makes it more comfortable in the woods to ride in. It makes it go over logs easier and stuff like that. But as far as reaching down and grabbing a rock down here and all that, I don't do all that. Every Jeep's different. I've been telling y'all that from the get-go. You build it for your terrain. I could take this up north to where some of you guys riding the rocks and shit, and it wouldn't do nothing. But you come down here in the mud, and mine would still be going up ahead of you when your shit was maybe dry. Alright guys, I thought of something else I left out with this exhaust. Now, if you ever do a turn down like mine is, where's it at? Like that, you got to be aware of carbon monoxide. I know it sounds crazy, but if you just have a turn down like that, don't ever leave it idling in deep water with the windows up. I always had the windows down, because that carbon monoxide get trapped up underneath the body and seep its way into the inside the Jeep. There was somebody got killed out in somewhere. I seen it online here in Florida, but the guy got a Jeep stuck. He had exhaust like this. He walked out, left his wife sleeping in the Jeep. He came back, wasn't good. So if you ever do a turn down like this on your Jeep, always be aware that it's like that. Don't leave the windows up and the Jeep idling stuck in a mud hole and let somebody sit in there, because it will get inside the Jeep, which is why they run them out the back. So I just wanted to add that in. This is probably in the middle of the video and out of place and stuff, but I just want to make sure y'all get that. If you run a turn down, do not ever leave it idling in the water, trapped under there like that with the windows up, because you'll you know what I'm trying to say. It'll fill this up with carbon monoxide. So always be aware of that. There's so much fucking dangers with this shit, but if you know what you're doing, you'll be fine. But you know, if you put a turn down on it, make sure you don't ever leave it running with somebody in there with the windows up in a deep mud hole stuck. Alright, I'll carry on. Anyway, I ran out of storage. I had to do some deleting there for a minute. I'm not saying my Jeep's better than anybody's, but when it comes to mud holes in Florida, in the swamp and all that stuff, this thing's purpose built for it. And if I come to y'all's area where y'all had to climb and all that stuff, it wouldn't do that good, because I built it for the mud. Everything on it's just for that, because that's the trails I have. But most thing I want to tell y'all is, if you guys that are new to this shit, you cannot take your Jeep off of some shit like that and think it's gonna make it to work next week. I've said it a million times, and you know, you have to, when you get out of a spot like that, get home and you got some work ahead of you. If you do the work and you get it cleaned out and everything's good, it's fine. You can drive it anywhere. But you got to take the time to get it all cleaned out. That's why I usually only do stuff like that on a 3-day weekend. That way I at least get 3 days out of all my work instead of just one. And you got to be, you can't be afraid to work. If you keep all this stuff cleaned out, you get under there and make sure everything's good. Oil's good, wheels, everything's good, and get it all freshened back up. It's good to go. But you got to take time to do it. You just can't take it to the car wash and spray it off and say, all right, let's go, and start driving it, you know, all week, because that's when you have problems, and it costs you a lot of damn money. But she's pretty much trashed out right this second. And I didn't have any overheating problems this time. That's good. How in the hell could it, though, when the whole half the radiator was underwater and the transmission? Lord, I might have a mental problem, guys, because it really don't make no damn sense. When I watch them videos, sometimes I'm thinking, what the fuck was I thinking? But it's fun, man. I like it. Y'all like it too. I mean, I know y'all like them videos. That's the Warn, what's that, that X9, 9,000 pound Tractor Supply, $500. I've had it so much for 2 years. It works good. It's still bent up a little bit, but it's fast too. It's a fast winch. Everybody always says how it's a fast winch when they pull it out and run it in for me. Oh, and one of y'all was asking me why it started pulling back in. It's just because the guy didn't have enough tension on this rope. Usually I want them to spool it out and then come back and lock it, but you know, sometimes you got people using your winch and stuff that haven't used one very much, and you got to watch that too. I have seen this, I've seen Damien almost do it, but he thought about it and he didn't do it. But he had that winch rope out, and y'all watch him in the video, you see him almost wrap his hand around it like this. Don't ever do that. Never. I seen a guy get his hand pulled inside of a winch like that. In here. Inside the fair lead. His fucking hand was in there. And it was bad. The winch was underwater, and he was trying to pull it out, and he wrapped his hand around the rope and pulled on it, and he hit the lever and he went the wrong way, and it pulled his damn hand in there and broke his hand, tore his damn hand all up. The bad part was having to push the button to let his hand out, and the stress of wondering if you was pushing the right button. But yeah, he climbed out on his hood, pulled out, and when he went to release it, instead of, always release the drum and pull it out. That way you ain't risking snatching your damn hand in there. But he wrapped his hand around that rope and pulled his hand inside that fair lead. I didn't know the guy. I was out there in the forest and was helping him out, and was going to try to help him out, but I ended up helping him get to the emergency room. I didn't know what the hell to do, you know. Be careful with them winches. Don't wrap your hand around that rope. Try to spool it out, pull it out, hook it up, go back, lock it, and then get away from it when you're pulling on it. I mean, Damien, the guy that hooked me up the first time and the second time at the end there, he's really skilled at it. He's done it a lot. So, but anyway, I guess that's it, guys. I'm gonna clean this thing up and check it out. If I run into any problems, I'll make a video on it and I'll show you. But I think she's good. She drove home yesterday just fine, just making a little zzz noise, but it was that stick up in there in the flywheel. And we'll get that out of there. And I would show y'all washing it and all that, but man, y'all know there ain't no point in that. And y'all notice how I kept backing up, going forward, backing up, going forward. That skid plate's doing its job on that rear end too. She did good. I'm very happy with it. I don't think that Jeep needs no bigger tires on it. That son of a bitch would go anywhere. I don't know too many people that would even pile off in that hole, but let me tell you something. There will be somebody in the future who wants to try that spot, and we will be back there, and we'll probably be stuck there for days. But I got some buddies with some High Lifter Edition RZRs and all that stuff. That was a damn plethora of badass spots out there. When we went to turn around, y'all didn't see it on the video, but it's big. It just opens up everywhere, and it's that sawgrass that grows in marshes. That's a badass spot right there. But we was in the canal. We don't need to do that no more. We need to find another way in there. We'll go back and conquer it. But y'all take it easy. Have a good one. I appreciate everybody watching and subscribing and stuff. It really means a lot to me and helps me out with the Jeep. I make a little tiny bit of money from it, but it helps. And I appreciate y'all watching, man. Share the videos. Share this one because it was a good one. The rest of them I know are kind of dull and boring, but this was a good one. Y'all share it, man. Share it on Facebook and stuff, and get us some more subscribers. And I'll keep answering questions and helping y'all much as I can anyway. And anyway, I appreciate y'all watching. Y'all have a good one, and take it easy. Bye.